At 23 years old, Tom landed a job that most mechanical engineering graduates dream of, a coveted spot on the assembly line at General Motors. His entire family applauded the milestone, but privately, Tom felt a creeping sense of dread about the traditional path stretching out in front of him. He looked at his older supervisor, James. James had been there long enough to earn a gold watch, but spent all his lunches talking about wild boar hunting, something he rarely actually had time to do. Tom saw the exact same pattern in his father, a man who loved hiking but could only hit the trails once a month due to his schedule. If Tom relied strictly on his engineering salary, the math was brutal. He would be locked into this mandatory work cycle until age 57. Tom realized he was paying for his paycheck with the only currency that actually mattered, his time. Tom never made it to 57 on that assembly line. Through investing, he retired at 43, effectively buying back 14 years of his life. So how exactly does a young beginner with absolutely zero financial background manage to engineer that specific mathematical escape? His first step was purely accidental. While picking up a book for his mother at the local library, he literally stumbled over a cute clerk, dropping books everywhere, and happened to pick up a copy of The Richest Man in Babylon. The book centered on one concept: pay yourself first. Before paying a single bill, rent, or grocery tab, he had to siphon off 10% of his income for his future. This explained why his supervisor was stuck. James consistently paid airlines and credit card companies first, leaving nothing to pay his own future. With his savings rate established, Tom wanted to accelerate his timeline. He turned to the stock market. But instead of building a steady base, he bypassed standard investments entirely. He started gambling on unprofitable nano-biotech companies he found in Reddit threads. This graph shows the trap. His initial $5,000 doubled to $10,000 in just 1 week, landing him at the peak of Mount Stupid. Then came the crash. His portfolio rapidly declined by 60%, plunging him into the valley of despair. He learned Warren Buffett's first rule of investing the hard way: never lose money. Treating the market like a casino without any foundational knowledge leads directly to catastrophic losses. So why didn't a devastating 60% drop permanently eliminate Tom from the game? This chart illustrates a capital buffer. While 60% is a massive percentage drop, it was a slice of a tiny starting portfolio. The nominal dollar loss was manageable. His strict $1,000 monthly savings rate completely replaced those market losses in 2 months. Meanwhile, a colleague of his went all in on a new cryptocurrency without that same savings buffer and was completely wiped out. During the volatile early stages of investing, a relentless savings rate acts as the ultimate safety net against your inevitable amateur mistakes. Tom quickly realized that as his portfolio grew, future percentage losses would eventually become too massive to simply replace with a monthly paycheck. He decided to become a learning machine. Every walk and every meal became an opportunity to absorb financial podcasts and videos. Let's do a final audit of Tom's exact math over his first 2 years. This balance sheet shows his primary input, aggressively saving $1,000 monthly for 24 months, totaling $24,000. Subtract the frictions, $2,000 in biotech losses and $1,000 in excessive trading fees. That leaves a net of $20,000. The calculation shows his first milestone was driven almost entirely by brute force savings rather than market performance. The data reveals a counterintuitive reality. Tom was an objectively terrible stock picker in his first 2 years, yet he still won the game. His investments did not carry him to his goal. His relentless savings habit did. Stage 1 functions as a training ground where amateur blunders are still relatively inexpensive. Paying yourself first and absorbing those early blunders builds the discipline required to eventually buy back decades of your life.
When Tom reached $20,000 in savings, the initial excitement started to fade. He was entering a phase where the work feels hardest, a long, slow climb where every dollar saved is a battle against gravity, and the six-figure finish line still feels out of reach. This is when most people are tempted by an exit. Tom's parents offered him $10,000, with one condition: he had to use it as a down payment on a house. It felt like a shortcut, but for someone trying to build momentum, it was an invitation to lock his capital away. Robert Kiyosaki argues that a primary residence at this stage isn't an asset, it's a liability. it doesn't put money in your pocket. It takes it out through interest, maintenance, and taxes, effectively stalling your growth before it truly begins. Charlie Munger's logic was simpler. The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. This chart shows the opportunity cost of that interruption.
On the left, using that cash for a down payment causes the investment curve to flatline. On the right, keeping that $20,000 in the market allows the interest to pile on top of itself, gathering speed. Tom turned down the gift. He realized that hitting his goal meant he had to prioritize the math of his portfolio over the social milestone of homeownership. By 27, Tom was starting to see his returns grow. That's when he got a call from his friend Steven, a finance grad who was putting $50,000 into a startup described as the Walmart of the metaverse. Tom's first instinct was to check the price-to-earnings ratio, or PE. It's a basic metric that tells you if a company is actually making money relative to its stock price. Steven's startup had no earnings at all. It was purely a bet on future hype. Warren Buffett has spent decades advocating quoting for the sit of speculative bets. He doesn't look for 7-foot hurdles to jump over. He looks for 1-foot bars that he can simply step over with confidence. Peter Lynch shared that philosophy, famously suggesting that investors should look for businesses so simple that any idiot could run them. Tom stayed within his circle of competence. He passed on the metaverse startup and instead bought shares in established companies like Google and Microsoft when their prices were low relative to their actual profits. Tom's path to the milestone wasn't built on finding the next big thing, but on avoiding the excitement that often leads to expensive mistakes. When Tom finally got promoted at General Motors, he faced a new challenge. His higher salary made it easy to justify a luxury car or a nicer lifestyle, purchases that would have instantly consumed his new income. He kept his old habits instead. He spent his evenings at the library, reading through the investment principles of Howard Marks to stay focused on the long-term value of his capital. It was there he met Sarah. Their shared interest in reading and saving meant that their relationship didn't just provide companionship, it provided a massive logistical advantage. The math of moving in together was undeniable. By sharing a slightly larger apartment and having shared costs for rent and utilities, their individual living expenses dropped significantly. This change allowed Tom to increase his monthly savings from $1,000 to $1,500, effectively giving himself a raise by reducing overhead. By maintaining a low cost of living, even as his income grew, Tom was able to pump capital into his investment accounts faster than any single promotion would have ever allowed. Tom now had two forces working for him, a $1,500 monthly savings rate and a steady 10% average return from the market. On his 29th birthday, the math finally reaches the target. Tom's portfolio crosses the $100,000 threshold. As Charlie Munger famously noted, getting your hands on that first $100,000 is an absolute struggle, no matter what you have to do to find the money. But once you have it, the nature of the work changes. At this level, a 10% return earns you $10,000 a year without any extra effort. The growth of the money starts to rival the amount you can physically save from a paycheck. Tom had survived the hardest part of the journey. He had moved from doing all the heavy lifting himself to a position where his capital was finally large enough to do the work for him. Tom felt he had finally figured it out. His snowball was rolling, and his financial future seemed set. But he didn't know that in just 2 years, the market would turn. A macroeconomic schist was coming that would erase 40% of everything he had spent a decade building. It's one thing to learn how to accumulate wealth, but as Tom was about to find out, it's something else entirely to learn how to keep it when the world changes. Imagine a call from a friend who just secured a 2,400% return on a tech startup IPO. This was Steven, who suddenly controlled $1.25 million and immediately bought a brand new Tesla to signal his new status. When you compare these outcomes, the disparity is jarring. Tom's disciplined strategy grew his portfolio by $12,000. That represented a full year of savings. But next to Steven's $1.25 million windfall, Tom's progress looked invisible, creating a heavy weight of doubt and FOMO. Tom found perspective in a warning from Warren Buffett. Half of all coin flippers will win their first toss, but those winners have no expectation of profit if they keep playing. Stephen simply won a single toss. He hadn't mastered the game. This initial phase of wealth building is a psychological filter. Luck often masquerades as genius, and the greatest challenge for a disciplined investor is refusing to abandon a proven strategy to chase someone else's outlier success. At work, the pressure to conform intensified. Colleagues constantly showcased expensive cars, high-end designer clothes, and exclusive dinner reservations as proof of their professional climb. This visualizes the biological conflict inside the human brain. The amygdala craves the immediate dopamine of social status, while the prefrontal cortex prioritizes long-term capital accumulation. But every dollar diverted toward status symbols is a dollar permanently removed from your compounding machine. This creates the Lamborghini poor paradox, a lifestyle of high-visibility luxury that masks a complete lack of underlying financial security. True wealth remains invisible. Accepting an outwardly average appearance allows an investor to accumulate the secret capital required for genuine, long-term autonomy. The strength of that discipline was tested when the S&P 500 collapsed by more than 50%. In a single year, the crash erased Tom's hard-won progress and dragged his portfolio back below the $100,000 mark. Moments like these act as a behavioral divide. They separate investors who react out of panic from those who rely on a cold mathematical process. Tom looked to Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Graham argued that common stocks should be purchased like groceries, recognizing that a price drop is a discount on a necessary item rather than a reason for alarm. Because Tom hadn't wasted his capital on status symbols in the preceding years, he had the cash to act. While others panic sold at the bottom, he spent the crash acquiring high-quality companies at steep discounts. Bear markets provide the specific conditions required for accelerated wealth creation. They offer a rare window where emotional control allows an investor to secure years of future growth in a matter of months. The mathematical payoff arrived quickly. By buying during the crash, Tom secured returns of 30% and 45% in the 2 years that followed, pushing his portfolio balance to new highs. This chart shows the inflection point. After years of disciplined deposits and reinvested gains, the lines finally cross. At this stage, Tom's portfolio began contributing more to his net worth than his actual working salary. With the principal now exceeding his annual savings rate, a standard 10% market return generates more wealth than Tom can manually save from a year of labor. Each subsequent gain builds on an increasingly larger base, pulling his net worth away from the linear limits of a paycheck. Reaching this stage changes the psychological game. The grueling effort of the early years transitions into a phase of visible, self-sustaining momentum. Surviving the initial flat period of the compounding curve is the only way to unlock this level of financial leverage. It requires a total commitment to the process before the results become obvious. Eventually, Tom withdrew $30,000 for house down payment. His portfolio had grown large enough that it could fund this major life goal without stalling his long-term compounding machine. While his colleagues at Ford were working extreme overtime to maintain their lifestyle inflation, Tom used his financial cushion to protect his free hours at time. Tom used his protected hours to research individual companies, achieving a 4% market outperformance. That extra margin generated $25,000, a return far beyond what he could have earned through hourly overtime. Tom finally leveraged this autonomy to launch a wedding photography firm, turning a long-held passion into a secondary income stream and moving closer to full professional independence. Disciplined investing serves a purpose far beyond social status. It functions as a mechanism to permanently reclaim time and personal freedom, the only commodities that truly matter.
It's a Monday morning, and the alarm clock isn't ringing. For Tom, the obligation to sit in a cubicle and grind through the start of the work week is permanently over. Instead of answering emails, he's out hiking, working on his photography, and spending time with his friends. He even has the schedule flexibility to take over as his daughter's tennis coach. He bought this freedom by building up a $1 million investment portfolio, allowing him to officially retire from his 9-to-5 job at the age of 43. Curious,
So how exactly does a completely normal guy manage to lock in early financial independence? Usually, we assume anyone retiring in their early 40s hits some kind of lottery. We imagine they founded a viral tech startup, landed a massive inheritance from a distant relative, or perfectly timed a random crypto spike. Society conditions us to look for a miracle behind early wealth. And because most of us don't experience miracles, we tend to write off early financial freedom as an impossible goal for an ordinary person. But Tom never had a miraculous windfall. His secret was entirely ordinary. He stuck to consistent, long-term investing in the stock market. This bar chart breaks down exactly where that $1 million came from. The dark blue represents the actual cash Tom saved from his salary, while the light blue section shows the compounding growth generated by the market. More than half of his final net worth came purely from those market returns. Look at what those returns do as the chart expands out into a timeline. If Tom had relied strictly on saving his salary, he would have had to work well into his late 50s. The market returns effectively acted as a financial time machine, shaving 14 full years off his mandatory working life. Compounding interest functions as the mechanism for reclaiming time, turning years of market growth into over a decade of personal freedom. Compare Tom's methodical approach to his friend Stephen. Stephen actually got the massive, extraordinary payout we usually associate with early retirement, walking away with a huge lump sum after a company called WA went big. Tom calls Stephen up to share his good news, cracking a joke about how great it feels to not be working on a Monday morning. He expects Stephen to still be living the dream right there with him. But Stephen isn't laughing. Instead of securing his windfall in steady investments, he took his entire payout and gambled it on a hyped-up new company called Starverse. The founders pitched Starverse as the Starbucks of the metaverse. Stephen bought the hype, trusted the founders, and handed over his retirement capital. They completely mismanaged the company. Stephen lost his entire retirement fund in the collapse, forcing him to swallow his pride and beg his old boss to give him his 9-to-5 job back. Chasing a spectacular, highly speculative shortcut is often the fastest route to destroying your wealth. Boring, methodical consistency is what actually preserves it. Which brings us back to the core question: what is truly extraordinary about Tom's success story? Absolutely nothing. His strategy was entirely ordinary, and that is exactly why it worked. Tom achieved these results with a standard salary and common investment returns. Because he didn't rely on specialized professional skills or extreme luck, his timeline serves as a reachable benchmark for anyone willing to focus their career and their portfolio. If an average guy like Tom can master these basics to hit full financial independence by 43, you have the exact same opportunity.
And if you take these reliable, deeply ordinary principles and push them to their absolute mathematical limits, the ceiling is staggering. Warren Buffett utilized these exact same foundational concepts of compounding growth to secure his first $1 million portfolio by the age of 31. Mastering the mundane mechanics of investing provides a reliable path for a person to retire comfortably, and it is the same process that constructed the largest fortunes in the world.